Afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Ask a Naturalist. I'm Marty, Calabrese Naturalist with Cleveland Metroparks. Today's Ask a Naturalist question: are salamanders considered lizards? Are salamanders a type of lizard? What do you think? Pop it into the comments, yes or no. Are salamanders lizards? Also, try to support your answer. So not just yes or no, but why? I'm broadcasting live from the beautiful Bradley Woods Reservation, where Cuyahoga and Lorain counties meet. It is the westernmost reservation in Cleveland Metroparks. It's about 150 acres. Just a great place with undisturbed wildlife, ancient plants like club moss. There are club mosses here, very cool, whose relatives, extinct relatives, date back 425 million years. Bradley Woods Reservation is a wet place. It's unique in that it is the only swamp forest in Cleveland Metroparks, and that's because there's a layer of bedrock beneath my feet. It is Berea sandstone topped with clay, so when it rains and the snow melts, the drainage is poor. So it is a very wet place. It is almost a wetland with trees, and therefore a swamp forest. It is the ideal location to unpack today's Ask a Naturalist question: are salamanders considered lizards? And that's because salamanders are very tied to wet conditions. Their whole life cycle relies and starts with water. Salamanders are amphibians. There are 8,000 amphibian species worldwide. That's quite a few. That's a big group, a big class of vertebrates. It's comprised of frogs, that means toads too. It's salamanders, that includes newts, and a rare and unusual legless group called Sicilians. You're not going to run into any of those in North America, but what we do have are 342 species of salamander in North America. Let me back up here. I'm dealing with some rough terrain in this swamp forest. It's very wet, and I want to rephrase that. There are 342 species of salamander worldwide. There are 187 in North America, 24 in Ohio. Here we go. You take a wrong step here off trail, you end up with your ankle deep in mud. Luckily, I have my mud boots on. It's okay. So, amphibians. Again, that big group, we have a nice collection of salamanders in Ohio. And I mentioned they're tied to water. So what do I mean? When they reproduce, they start off as an egg, and prior to going through the steps of metamorphosis, they start off in their larval stage. They are gill breathing. It's aquatic. So they're in water. Their eggs are laid in water. And I'm hinting at the answer here about whether or not salamanders could possibly be considered lizards. So as the salamander goes through metamorphosis and actually completes the loop of their metamorphosis, considered incomplete metamorphosis, they become an adult. It's a terrestrial stage animal, so land-dwelling, and at this point they breathe with lungs. We're going to meet one in a second. We're going to meet our state amphibian. Cool mushroom, by the way, here. I'm walking by it. You may as well take a look. So we have it looks like a dead tree here, and it looks like these mushrooms are eating it. They sort of look like artist conch, which means they're in the genus Ganoderma, but they are not artist conch. It's something that looks similar. Anyways, back to salamanders. So Bradley Woods Reservation, again, is this ideal location to talk about amphibians and salamanders because of how wet it is. And again, I'm really even having trouble finding my way here through this network of vernal pools. Does anybody know what a vernal pool is? Are there any salamanders that climb trees? Salamanders generally, good question, Nancy. Salamanders generally are, and I'm going to land a new word on you guys. They're not arboreal. They don't live in the trees. They are generally not terrestrial, meaning that they live right there on land and at the surface of land. They're mostly, at least here in Ohio, as adults, not aquatic, which leaves fossorial. They are fossorial. That means, like worms, they're subsurface. They live in the soil. Okay? And, oh boy, here we have a vernal pool. This right there is exactly why I came and brought you guys to Bradley Woods. It is a vernal pool. And what is a vernal pool? It is a ephemeral pond. It is a temporary collection of water after it rains or after the snow melts. And if you march out to a place like this, right after the first warm rains after winter, so right as winter's transitioning into spring, you're going to see lots of eggs. You're going to hear lots of amphibians like wood frogs. You're going to see lots of eggs, egg masses from an individual salamander like this. Oh, here's another vernal pool. Look at that. And this salamander that I want you to meet, right there. Anyone know what species this is? I'll start with the scientific name, Ambystum immaculatum. I'll give you a hint. It is our state amphibian. It's spotted, of course. It has these uneven spots. Why do you think it has these very bright spots? Don't you think this animal would be better off with good camouflage? So that's another question I'm posing to you. Go ahead, toss it in the comments. And I hinted at it. This is called the spotted salamander. Since 2010, it has been our state amphibian. Look at that face. So this is quite a big salamander. It's going to be at least 6 inches long. It has lungs, so that sort of separates it from another big and very common, thank you Nancy, you got it, spotted salamander. Having lungs separates it from a big family of salamanders in Ohio that are actually more commonly seen. So this one, not so commonly seen. You have to wait till after winter. Again, at a place like this fossorial animal, whoops, you're squeezing out of my hand there. This fossorial animal is going to leave the soil and it's going to head back to its natal pond where it was born. So it's headed to this breeding pond, and the females will lay an egg mass with upwards of 100 eggs inside of there, and it's going to be this gelatinous mass. So it's jelly. It's very jelly-like, and it's about the size of a baseball. Whoops! Oh boy, I don't want to lose you there. It's about the size of a baseball, a hardball. And something pretty interesting about that egg mass, it does a great job of keeping the water out. A little too good of a job because it keeps the oxygen out too. And the problem with that is that those developing embryos need oxygen. So there's this fancy relationship with a algae, a symbiotic relationship with an algae inside of that egg mass that provides those developing embryos with oxygen. And those embryos respire CO2. So if you take a breath right now and you let it out, so you breathe in oxygen and you're letting out that CO2. As those embryos do that, of these developing spotted salamanders, the algae then eats up the CO2. So it's doing photosynthesis, so it needs CO2. So round and round that cycle goes, and pretty cool. Okay, I find them in the parks in spring and fall. However, in summer, they become very hard to find. Where do they go? Thanks, Mike, for the question. Yeah, again, this is a fossorial creature, the spotted salamander. And that means it's subsurface, so it lives in the soil. So they go down underneath the forest floor, underneath the hiking trails, and they come back up after winter when it's warm enough, and they head to those vernal pools, much like this, so they can complete the breeding cycle there. So this animal is also nocturnal. So not only if you're going to go and try to find these in the spring or late winter, you're still dealing with colder temperatures. And I would encourage you to get out and try to find this next spring. You're dealing with colder temperatures. You're dealing with rain, okay? And it's night because they're nocturnal. So I have always found it tricky to get out there in the evening and bring my kids. So if there's any of you kids, the grade school kids out there watching, this might be past your bedtime. Luckily, this spring, one of us naturalists is going to broadcast live from a place like Brecksville Reservation, the Wilson Mills Trailhead in North Chagrin, Reservation, or a place like this. So that's 3 places. Bradley Woods Reservation. And we might even juggle the feed back and forth for you at home who are unwilling to head out after 9:30 p.m. in the rain late in winter. I mean, that's hard work to see these salamanders. In summary today, have we answered the question, are salamanders considered lizards? And I'm scrolling through your answers here. The answer is no. Salamanders are amphibians. Lizards are reptiles. Lizards are amniotes. They lay eggs. They always make an egg, whether or not they lay it. And those amphibians must lay their eggs in water. Where's that water? There it is. So, no, salamanders are different. They're amphibian. Thank you for tuning in today to this Ask a Naturalist question. Throw in the comments if you have a great idea for next week. I've enjoyed your ideas. We will get to some of them at some point. They won't always work out for a live stream just like this. I'm Marty Calabrese, naturalist with Cleveland Metroparks. I will see you soon.